Well, hi everybody, my name is Larea. This is Allie. We're two of the trainers here at Gulfarium Marine Adventure Park, and right now we are hanging out with two of our resident African black-footed penguins.
Right here in my arms is Hope. She's one of our youngest members of our African black-footed colony, and then we also have Timmy hanging out with Larea. We're going to be letting you guys know a little bit about the species as well as what we do here specifically at Gulfarium with our resident African black-footed penguins.
Well, something that a lot of our guests are surprised to see here at the Gulfarium is that we do have our colony of penguins living outside here in Florida, whereas I'm sure most of you are familiar with, it is pretty hot outside, especially in the summer. I know when a lot of us hear the word penguin, the first thing that we tend to picture is a bunch of birds all huddled together in the snow, but there are actually 18 species of penguin found throughout the world, and more than half of those 18 species are actually warm weather birds. So like we said earlier, these are African black-footed penguins, and they are indigenous to the coast of South Africa. Now, though, South Africa has weather much more comparable to Florida than Antarctica, and in fact, whenever the weather drops down below 40 degrees Fahrenheit out here, so in the coldest days of our wintertime, that's actually considered too cold for these birds, and we'll move them all inside to a temperature-controlled location where we can make sure that they are staying nice and warm.
Now, they are really well adapted to the warmer climates as well. One of my favorite things about them is actually the way that they thermoregulate. So if you guys look, you can kind of see, especially on Timmy's eyes there, he has pink surrounding his eyes, and they also have pink on their feet. Now, although it's a fancy touch to go with their tuxedo coloring, it's actually a way that they thermoregulate. So on the hotter days and hotter environments out in Africa, they're actually going to move their blood supply to these pink regions. They can either go for a swim or catch a nice cool breeze on these pink regions, and they actually recirculate it through the rest of their body, which allows them to use it as kind of like a little in-unit air conditioning system.
Another cool adaptation that these penguins does have to do with their black and white feather coloration. Now, it's not just for style, but it serves a really important purpose of helping them blend themselves into their surroundings. It's their camouflage. So you can see that both of our penguins here have dark feathers on their back. Now imagine that you're a penguin predator and Timmy here is swimming below you. Those black feathers on his back are going to help him to blend in with the depths of the ocean. Where on the other hand, if a penguin is swimming up above you, the white feathers you can see on their bellies help them to blend in with the light from the sky.
Now, one of the best characteristics that they have in adaptations to help them survive is actually the ability to drink salt water. Now, that's an adaptation that a lot of animals actually don't have. Now, if you guys could imagine, if we drink salt water, we get really sick and dehydrated, but not for these guys. They're actually able to drink salt water, process it, and throughout the day, if you might see them sneezing or shaking their head, it's actually how they release that salt. They actually release it through their nares, and they keep all the hydrating water just deep inside their bodies for them to use.
Now, another adaptation that these penguins have has to do with their bones. So they have dense bones, actually more similar to what we as humans have. Now, birds that can fly have hollow bones, but these guys are not flyers, they are swimmers. So it's really important that they have those heavy bones because it's what helps them to dive down deep in the water to get their food source, which is fish. Now, if they had hollow bones, like most of other birds that can fly, they would just be stuck floating at the surface and not able to get that food source, so those dense bones are really helpful to them when they swim. They are also excellent swimmers. You can see that they do have their wings on either side of their body. They actually function more like flippers and help them to do all that really cool maneuvering, stopping, turning, and steering when they swim in the water.
Now, here at Gulfarium, we actually have 18 penguins in our family here. And so with that being said, a lot of people do wonder, well, how is it that we tell them apart? So for that, we actually use their spots. So we all have our own unique fingerprint as humans, which is really cool. But for these guys, you can see they actually have their own unique spots, and we actually use that as our way of identifying them for every training session and feeding session that we do as well.
So that being said, you can also probably notice that Hope and Timmy do look a little bit different in feather coloration, where Timmy here has that black and white tuxedo feathers, and Hope is a little bit more gray tone all over. Now, that difference in coloration is really an indicator of the penguin's age. So Hope here is a juvenile, so she's less than a year old. She was actually hatched here at the Gulfarium at the end of this past December, so she's about 8 months old. Now, Timmy here in my arms just had his second birthday, and so it's not until the penguin reach about a year to 14 months of age that they'll go through their first molt. Well, they'll lose that outer layer of juvenile feathers and grow in the black and white tuxedo feathers like you see on Timmy here.
These two were actually hatched right here at Gulfarium, and we're really happy to have them as part of our penguin family because they're actually an endangered species listed by the IUCN's Red List. There's really not many of them left out in the natural environment. There's actually only 25,000 nesting pairs left. which, being considering that they're found on 25 different islands, that's really not many penguins at all.
So even though African black-footed penguins live in a totally different part of the world than we do, there are actually still things that we can do here at home to help conserve this endangered species. Now, one of the best things that we can do is simply reduce the amount of single-use plastics that we use in our everyday lives and choose to use sustainable alternatives instead. So the next time you go to the grocery store, you can use things like reusable cloth bags instead of those plastic bags that they give you. Another thing you can do is whenever you buy cans of soda or Gatorades, you can cut those plastic rings that they come with. That's a big way that we can help protect these species because those products can be very dangerous to them out in their natural environment.
We would like to thank you all so much for hanging out with us and learning some about this amazing species of African black-footed penguins. On behalf of ourselves and of course the True Stars, Hope and Timmy, and of course the rest of us here at Gulfarium Marine Adventure Park. Thanks guys!